Thank you for participating in Brant Museum and Archives Museum Month activities. So to start off, could you please give us a brief introduction about your museum and what you personally do at your museum?
So my name is Nathan Etherington, and I'm the Program and Community Coordinator at the Brant Historical Society. We oversee operations of the Brant Museum and Archives on Charlotte Street, and as well as Myrtleville House Museum. So I've been at the museum since September 17th, 2014. And over my time there, originally I was just doing programming. And now essentially I do almost everything involved with the museum, including exhibits, research, grant writing, supervising summer students. So things like that that make up my job. And then managing the collection as well.
What is your favorite artifact at your museum?
Well, one of the best collections that we got was early on, and that was the Pauline Johnson collection. So when Evelyn Johnson passed away, she donated everything in her estate, essentially, to the Royal Ontario Museum. So the Royal Ontario Museum housed and stored and cared for the Pauline Johnson collection for a long time. And then in 1948, when we didn't have our own building or place to store this stuff, we received from the ROM the Chiefswood collection. And so included in that is the Johnson family photo album. And it was in our inventory system, and I couldn't find it for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, one day I opened a drawer and I saw this green leather album, and I was like, that must be it, that must be it. And sure enough, it was. And it had a lot of photos of like, not necessarily family members, but a lot of like royalty. They loved Napoleon, so there's a big picture of Napoleon in there. John A is in there, a photo of John A. And then there's like some family members, mainly from the mother's side or lineage as well.
What is your favorite story related to your museum?
Okay, well, since our museum, our mandate is the entirety of Brant County. So one of my favorite stories is the Sanford incident in 1902. So in that story, it's Tuesday, June 24th, and Joshua Sanford is working on his well, and he was lowered into this well on a rope by none other than John Penman, who owned Penman's Manufacturing in Paris proper. So this is like across from Braeside, where Braeside is on the German School Road now, and that farm is still there. And so he was lowered down into this well. It's 87 feet deep. It's quite deep. So as he's in the process of being lowered into this well, the well starts caving in on him. So they think, what are we going to do in order to save this guy? So they strategize and think about it. They dig a parallel well a couple feet over from it and start digging down. And newspapers around the world are printing things about what's happening with this guy who's fallen down the well. Are they able to get him out? What's his state or his condition? Are they able to communicate with him? For a time, they thought he was dead because they couldn't hear anything. But how the well actually collapsed, it formed like an arch over his head, so it actually protected him. And he was standing there on the bottom of the well under this little arch that had saved him. So after a couple days, they finally dig down over into the well to the same level that he's at. And then they have to try and figure out how to get through the well without it collapsing. So finally, by Saturday that week, they're there. They're at the right next to the well, and finally they're able to remove one brick without causing the entire thing to collapse, and they're able to save him and rescue him out of this well. So he's down there for from Tuesday until Saturday basically at the end of the day, they're able to rescue him and take him out of the well.
Wow. What do you enjoy about working at your museum?
Uh, my museum is very challenging in a lot of ways. Oftentimes you'll hear things from other museums of like, oh, that's this person's job or that person's job. In our situation, it's often I decide like how it gets done, right? So it usually falls to me to deal with some of these museum issues. So one of my favorite parts of working at the museum, on top of having access to all of the collections, is doing research on things. Oftentimes, people have this like historical myth or like idea in their brain, and they sometimes think that it's fact, and like they're like, I've been around, I remember it. And memories aren't perfect, so memories are a little fuzzy, and sometimes they're not proper or not correct. So like finding, researching and finding resources that actually confirm or go against what someone is actually saying, and having actual factual printed material that points you to the correct answer.
Is there anything exciting happening at your museum this summer?
Well, hopefully, once we're able to reopen the museum and have people in again, we have a lot of additional help through the Canada Summer Jobs Program and Young Canada Works. These are youth programs to help youth access the labor market and get some money for their studies, as well as help them in their early careers, help them build new skills that they will need to take into the workplace and in other work settings, not necessarily just museums. But hopefully with all that additional help, we will be able to be open 7 days a week from whenever we're able to open until next year sometime. So there'll be lots of opportunity for residents and from inside Grant County as well as across Ontario to come back to the museum and visit it and see some new exhibits, including one that we're going to do on royal visits, which was supposed to launch on May 24, but obviously that's going to be delayed quite a bit right now.
Thank you for joining us for this interview. We really appreciate it.